I, Travis Wayne Goodsell, have figured out the cure for Mormonism. R-rated movies. We should have known this all along, as the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints specifically told us not to watch R-rated movies. There should have been a light bulb gone off in our head saying, what are they wanting to keep us from watching? I want to know more. So yeah. When you watch a PG safe movie, sort of, you start being judgmental about things that under your safe zone are pushing the boundaries. And so you get upset with the phallic symbols in The Little Mermaid. And stuff like that. Sometimes. Other times it's a disobedient daughter to King Triton. That was my grandma. My grandma saw Little Mermaid, the cartoon, and that was her first comment. How dare that girl be disobedient to her father? That's what my grandma learned from The Little Mermaid. And, in a way, she's right. She became human. How dare she? No longer to be a mermaid. So there are consequences that they were teaching, but encouraging the rebellion of. And so never mind about the witch that led her to become human. But, yeah. And so there is kind of a bubble world you create when you limit yourself to only listening to church hymns, when you limit yourself to only reading the scriptures, when you limit yourself to watching only Disney movies. And you're easily susceptible to deception. For example, The Sound of Music. You don't see the evil or the depths of evil of the Nazis in The Sound of Music. You hear a lot of singing and, oh, it's a wonderful time. And you think, well, what did the Nazis do to deserve to flee? They wanted them to serve in the military? What's wrong with that? You don't see fighting. You don't see their invasion. You don't see the concentration camps. And so you're in a bubble watching The Sound of Music. And you are deceived as to how evil the Nazis were. And you are deceived when people resurrect the Nazi agenda, like neo-Nazis. You don't recognize the danger because you've never known the danger in the first place. You've lived in a bubble. And so Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List is another example of why Mormons need to watch R-rated movies to get out of their bubble. Because the church leaders, in creating this hedge for Mormons, no R-rated movies, it's not protecting Mormons from the wolves that are able to jump over the hedges, secretly pass through as ghosts through the hedges, and torment and destroy the Mormons through financial scams, through deceptions that incite Mormons to hate and violence. For example, Mormons don't understand me. They're clueless. They've lived in their bubble, and so they don't know Mormonism the way I do, as I'm able to see the dangers all around Mormonism. And Mormons, instead, because of their bubbles, are incited to hate and violence. As you can see, thumbs down on my videos. Even videos where you wouldn't expect to see a thumbs down. And so Schindler's List is a more realistic portrayal of the horrors of World War II's Nazi Germany. It's taken on the portrayal of the actual Schindler, who had a list to help free Jews. And you see the concentration camps, you see the wars, you see the terror they caused in the streets. And having seen that myself, I've seen Schindler's List, I now have a different perspective on the Sound of Music. I saw the Sound of Music first as a kid. My mom had to share with me that when she went on her mission, she wasn't allowed to see the Sound of Music. She missed the Sound of Music in the theaters. And her day, you didn't have videos. You didn't have streaming service. So if you missed it, you missed it. And as far as you knew, you were never going to see it again unless they re-released it in the theater. And that nobody knew about that kind of thing being done. And so my mom was trying to give me comfort about missing the latest Indiana Jones movie. I think that was the Temple of Doom one, I think. But Kalema Shatire. I'm in a new age. I was able to see it after. My mom likewise got to see the Sound of Music as well. She lived long enough to... She's still alive. God damn it. But again, R-rated movies help me understand the evils of my parents, even. You know, I knew I didn't want to live with them anymore. I didn't want to be anything near them, anywhere near them. Didn't want anything to do with them. But it was not until R-rated movies taught me of evil. And I went, oh, that's why my parents did what they did and why I want to run for the hills. Likewise, was Schindler's List to the Sound of Music. I now understand why they needed to flee from the Nazis. And why Edelweiss now brings me to tears. Because before seeing Schindler's List, Edelweiss was just a song. I was more interested in the underage girl being hit on by the adult male. You don't catch those things either. Just like children don't catch the sexual innuendo of SpongeBob SquarePants. Adults might, depending on their level of bubble. But, yeah. And so, when I talk about protection racket that the church is performing with tithing, Mormons don't understand. They don't even know what a protection racket is. They're in a bubble. See, the church keeps announcing to the Mormons that we're not in a bubble, but they've put Mormons in the bubble. And those who are crying out that the prophets are in a bubble are typically the ones who have snuck out to see an R-rated movie and have learned that they're a thunder sister. Yes, I just got through watching The Croods, A New Age. And so, I guess children and Mormons who have lived in a bubble do not see and understand what I learn and understand from movies. For example, when the cartoon Hercules came out, Disney's Hercules, I had already studied about the Greeks with Zeus and Hercules, and had already caught on because of my scripture study level and further study of the Bible with the degree I got with it outside of Mormonism and the Mormon bubble. And so when I saw Hercules, it was inspiring. I saw a bigger picture of what's going on with religion and scripture and Zion, House of Israel. But when I tell others, and this was when I was in the older singles ward, when I was telling others, other women, they're clueless. They saw Hercules. They didn't understand any of that. How am I understanding that? It's because I had received extra knowledge about the subject matter. I broke the barriers of the bubble. And yeah, there's a danger, because Schindler's List, despite showing the atrocities of war and violence and the criminal thinking, the criminal minds, it shows the gas chamber. And you just want to cry. But there's a tendency in our culture, I've noticed, where people want to personify in their life the villains of the movies and TV shows. When the prequel trilogy of Star Wars came out, I started hearing about people forming Sith Lord groups. People wanted to be Sith. And that's the real danger with R-rated movies, is that instead of learning from them, seriously, so that you can protect yourself, you end up becoming the enemy. And that's what Mormons have done with their Book of Mormon. Instead of becoming the heroes and the prophets, the good guys in the Book of Mormon, Mormons literally have become the Korah whores, the Antichrist, the rich Zoramites, the Lamanites, the great and abominable church. And it scares me. Because when I first read through the Book of Mormon, yeah, I didn't associate it with the church. But as I've broken the bubble barrier and have gone back to look, Yeah, dear God, what have you guys become? You have become the enemy. My whole ward shuns me. The whole ward doesn't know me. They never did know me. And so when the bishop goes and spreads the rumor, oh, Travis has gone off the deep end, he's crazy, he's twisting the scriptures, who are they going to believe? Yeah, they believe the bishop. And so I don't get visited. Nobody's trying to reclaim me. They all stay away as if I'm the horrible, evil enemy that has to be shunned and avoided, cast out, destroyed if necessary. And so, yeah, even with the Croods, as I caught on that it was Nicolas Cage as the father, I recognize that voice from Snake Eyes and Con Air and other famous R-rated movies. But even the Croods, more and so in the first one, but they reminded us of it in the second one, about bubbles. Because the second one had the perfect betterment, yeah, that's what it was, who created a bubble community, but just had to make sure to keep feeding Kong. I was chanting Kong when they were slowly revealing him. Kong, 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 Kong. So yes, I'm hyped for Godzilla versus Kong. But yeah, that's the danger that the church doesn't want you to know about, and so they just tell you to stay away from all of it. Is that you become the enemy, you become evil, you become corrupt, you become bad if you don't learn from the stories. And it's okay to learn, but if you decide to become the enemy, for example, the Confederate statues, if they were set up as an educational device, like in a museum, where they show that these guys betrayed America and tried to overtake it and return it to a monarchy, if they kept it as educational, everything would have been fine. But instead, we still have Confederates in the South who stick them up as idols to never forget, to take back one day America, to return it to a monarchy. They become evil again, the neocons, Confederates. Isn't that interesting? The Bush administration gave a name to the neocons, and then under Trump it became the MAGA. They all lived in a bubble, and they were attacked and became their weapon. And so seeing wickedness, reading about wickedness, does not make you wicked. Reading Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible will not turn you into a demon. It's when you believe that the teachings and the actions in the movies are good and you should adopt them. And you see that first take shape when people start to dress in the costumes of the enemies or the villains. Unless it's for Halloween, you're supposed to get a pass on that, but people instead for Halloween are now using it to be princesses and slut whores. I had to laugh in the older singles ward when one of the women were talking to me and how she was disgusted how other Mormon women use Halloween so that they can dress in lingerie. Be sluts. I never went to those parties, so I never got to see the women in their lingerie. But apparently it happens. But yeah, the Book of Mormon. I hear from Mormons, oh, I don't like reading about the wars. I don't know why they have that. It's so gory. Why don't they take that out? Seriously? You've missed the whole point of the Book of Mormon. So, just thought I'd share that with you before it gets added to the pile that I've not gotten to. I'll be going to bed here pretty soon.